Our next speaker is Jurjen Wagemaker. I apologize for the potentially incorrect pronunciation of your name. So Jurjen is with Floodtags. He's going to talk about ground observations from the media for real-time and historical flood assessment. He has 20 years experience with underground water management, has a master's degree in civil engineering from Delft University of Technology, and worked on water and development projects in 15 countries in Africa, Asia, and the Americas. He has field experience and has been very much focused on what is happening underground and at the local level, inspired by the large volume of data shared by people during floods via the social media. And in 2014, he founded the company Floodtags, which is what he's going to talk to us about today. Welcome.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you for the introduction, Anna, and pleasure to be here, being invited by the Global Flood Partnership. Today, I'd like to show some examples of how you can use media data for real-time and historical flood risk flood assessment. First, for those who don't know us at all yet, our starting point is actually that there's millions of online posts on floods throughout the world. Peaks of up to 100,000 tweets, for instance, when it floods. Here on screen right now on the left, you see some content of ETA, which is already a little bit longer ago. In the middle, some content of Italy, where it was flooded a couple of days ago, and the three on the right are actually floods of today. On the left, there's Malaysia. In the middle, there's Chennai, where there's a flood right now, and on the right, there's a flash flood in New Zealand. We saw this happening and had the idea to start collecting all that data and analyzing that data. So this is what we do. We collect the data from different sources, from Twitter, from blogs, from forums, from a lot of news sites, and then we analyze it. We do that with our partners. It involves event detection, information extraction, and then we distribute the content via an API and the dashboard. So what does that look like in real life? This is the emergency operation room at the Philippine Red Cross in Manila. They have, of course, Philippines is very much a flood-prone country. There's a lot of floods going on every year, every month. And they had the problem of knowing when it floods at a certain point in the Philippines. What we created for them is a notification on the basis of social media that they take in their own dashboard. On the left, there's the admin dashboard for their own operation center, where they get to see where there's an elevated number of tweets coming in per location. What happens then is they start calling to these different locations to follow up on these individual messages and to get content from the ground. And then they start monitoring the situation via our dashboard. Here you see a visualization of the dashboard, where we have per tweet or per social media content, you can exactly see where it is located, what it's about, and so that they can have a real-time follow-up of anything that's going on. Another example of what we do also with the Red Cross, but then in Tanzania, and they were kind of interested in this system, but they didn't have a lot of Twitter, of course, or of course, there's not a lot of Twitter in Tanzania, but they were using WhatsApp a great deal of sharing information. But the downside of WhatsApp is that they couldn't have any automated, structured intake of that content. And so what we did is create a bot in Telegram, where they have now 125 members, volunteers, disaster managers, that are reporting about floods. and we insert them in a platform, Community Water Watch, that we developed together with Deltares and Tamo, which is a very local forecast and monitoring service. So here you see monitoring of water levels coming together with forecasts, coming together with observations on the ground. And that's then being used by the Red Cross to monitor the situation, and also by the authorities to monitor the situation as it unfolds. Another example is model validation. This is not only in real time, but moreover looking at past events. This is for a use case of index insurance, where there was a hydrometeorological model was developed which had falses, and we were asked if we could find false negatives and false positives of their model. So we started looking at newspapers of the past 10, 15 years. And what we do is a process of natural language processing to detect events, and then create a table of these events that have dates, that have location, that have affected people, that have overall damage. That was done. And with this, this serves as an input to validate their and improve their model. And after that, right now we have a real-time monitor using all the news sites and local news in Myanmar, and we can create event notifications, and they can see whenever it's flooding somewhere in Myanmar, and then they can start to investigate further. And that can be acquisition of further remote sensing data, or and to even the presentation that he gave, follow up with drones, or any other type of follow-up that you can think of. Now, going a little bit deeper into Myanmar, we had the request was a highly automated system, and so we started to we wanted to have quite a high precision. So we took to develop and train the text classifiers in 3 local languages, also in Laos and Cambodia. And that's an entire process of annotation and development. And we did that for text, and we also did that for images together with partners, Radboud University and Vision Impulse, where you can see persons and also water levels. When there's persons or cars in the water, we can detect what kind of water level is in the pictures, and so we can create kind of a high precision on events. And conclusively, we have a process of corrections and continued training via a human in the loop. So via human in the loop, you can go to the articles and just adjust and override the system with your new information. It goes for text as well as for images. So that latter process is the process of all the annotation and classification is kind of time intensive. So what we needed to do is find more ways that we can do this natural language processing and information extraction. So actually we split it in 2. One, we have rule-based systems that have AI support for a quick understanding of what's going on with reasonable precision. And on the other hand, we have in-house developed AI to really reach that high precision. And there's just more work. What comes out of it is real-time flood-related articles, and in both cases with a time and a location. But if you dig deeper, you can also get a further assessment of damage figures, number of evacuees, casualties, etc., etc. And then comes the detection. For a standard level, we can use Twitter. Twitter is quite well for the monitoring of large floods, and you would get many of the smaller floods as well. If you want to get all the floods, you need to go to a broader base of media data. And then you can actually get a very good event detection in any country that you want on the basis of online media, of news media, blogs, forums, all these sources. And that translating into coverage, it's quite, no, easy is not the word, but you can do the left method quite well. So right now what we have is we've covered 10 languages and we have this running in over 50 countries. And the other one is at request. We've got it covering now for three languages and expanding. So it's more work, but you can do a lot more with it. Back to some examples. This is an image that I received from John Galantovich on Hurricane Eta. It's based on SAR images, flood depths, and what I always like to do is see what happens if you look at the same window with flood observations. And here we have it a little bit mixed, and you see that there's a lot of overlap. And there's also some mismatches or differences between the two maps. There's parts where you do have tweets and content where it doesn't seem to be flooding, and there's definitely also places where it seems to be flooding, but there's no content. The exact reasons behind it, I'll leave it for another discussion. But the take-home message is that by combining different sources, it's definitely wise, and you can get a better understanding of a situation, a better validated flood maps by combining these sources and adding the ground truth data. Thanks, John, for sharing this. Another example is we've been working with ICI. ICI is a satellite imagery provider. They provide for different sectors, maritime, also disaster management, and they provide real-time flood maps as well. You should check them out sometime. And what they wanted to do is to improve, as one of the inputs to improve their maps, is look at the content that we could provide as flood tags. And we looked at Tochigi. Tochigi is a city in Japan, was severely hit. And the question was, what is exactly happening in this densely urban populated area? And so we started looking, and this is not real time. This is when we have a couple of hours to spare, then we can find these kinds of pictures in the web, so or from the media. This is a location very near to the station. Actually, ICI asked for a number of very good water depth observations. So that's what we started looking for. Here you see, of course, a very good one. You can fairly estimate water depth over here. We also looked at other places. This is the main street in front of the city hall. We looked it up on Google Street View. It wasn't difficult to find. And here you can see a very pinpointed, good, well pinpointed location where you can have a water depth. We did the same thing for the Doroyaki shop, where there was a report of flood. We found this image on the web, and we found it also on Google Street View. So what we actually provide, what we can do, is when there's an actual flood happening, or when you really want to know where a flood has been happening, you can look at the media and get good pinpointed data on water depth and other impact factors. Back to the content. There's not only flood observations there. What we did to see what kind of content is there, or what we did to illustrate that, is in a random period of 1.5 hours, we just collected a high number of tweets, and of the remaining 2,500 that are relevant in 1.5 hour, we started annotating all the different contents. And here I just picked out logistics. 8% of tweets are about logistics. which is quite relevant. We see that accessibility of flooded areas is asked to us a great deal of times. And we have quite a lot of content about that from authorities, but definitely also from people who just say that there's roads that they cannot pass, and perhaps they wish they would have gone by bicycle. Is what this one is saying. So there's a lot of different information in these in the tweets. Just for this set, we saw that 13% was about ongoing flood extent. 50% had impact data. 1% had like a real information on the causes of floods. You have to think about these kinds of tweets. Retaining wall next to collapsed following heavy rains. 1% of content is about that. There's flood forecasts from citizens, like expectation and worries, and of course from authorities. 8% of logistics, and 17% of flood policy that are more discussions on reasons of flooding, like encroachment, like trash, like embankments that are not well designed, etc. So a question that we get a great deal of times, and I wanted to address that, is what do you do in countries where there's no media data? And actually, we haven't had that experience yet, because there's no countries where people are just silent when floods. So there's always countries, there's always content in all different countries for all different use cases. And what we do actually is always start with a quick inventory of data for the different use cases, possibly including an event report, and then you can start either real-time monitoring or a more elaborate risk and trend analysis. Another question that we get a lot is, can we get the data for research purpose? And yeah, obviously there's a lot of topics that are very interesting to start exploring, like improving the flood maps and flood forecasting by using media data as a supplement. My last sheet is what we can concretely deliver to you. The GFP is about getting science to the end user. We've had a lot of science done until in the past 5 years. Now we are really at the end point of delivering this to end users with success. What we do is a real-time delivery of media data, as you've seen, on a global level and country per country level. This is accessible, this is operational. We provide event summary. If you say, well, I really want to know everything about the Chennai floods that have been happening today, we can deliver that. And of course, we can also support further two-way communication in Telegram, but also in WhatsApp or in Facebook Messenger to add more content via crowdsourcing. This is my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention and for giving me the floor here. Thank you.